All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Let's see. This is the second live stream we've had on the YouTube channel where we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue the work that did last week on the space game. Unfortunately, between now and then, haven't had much time to work on this. I On the team at Netlify, we've been busy working on this piece, which Jamstack Explorers. So if you're looking to learn about sort of basically like different concepts or things like as far as like split testing with Netlify. I know for those of you who follow me for the Vue stuff, eventually there will be Vue content on here, so keep an eye on it. This is basically a free learning platform to learn about how to build and do cool things with the Jamstack. So that's been like the focus since the last time I streamed. So definitely check it out if you haven't already and bookmark it. But yeah, definitely I can promise there's some Vue 3 content coming your way on that. So with that said, hello, Abdusami. How's it going? Thanks for joining. All right, so let's sort of recap what we're trying to do. The idea here is, we have this space game I'm trying to build where users are basically faced with 3 mini games that they have to finish the challenge, and if they finish it, they earn the win condition that will most likely be some sort of like cool animation that we're going to do. So as far as where I was working on this, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely great to hear positive support and feedback, especially with this kind of stuff, because if it were up to me, I would rather be live coding at an event in front of all y'all, and then we could like talk and do things. But alas, in these quarantine times, we are making do with what we have. So appreciate the words of support. It means a lot. All right, so let's see. I need to go to my lab folder. So I created an alias to switch me over. So this would have been the equivalent of like CD Projects Lab. And we need to go into my Vue 3 lab because we are still experimenting with this. This game is got a bit of ways to go before let's see. And then I have 2 different folders in here. I have, and so for those wondering, this Vue 3 labs is a GitHub repository that's completely open source. So everything that I do here is in the Vue 3 labs repo, which I'll just show you real quick. Yep, Vue 3 labs right here. So in case you're ever looking for something that I built or just want to see it, I can't promise it'll always stay in the same directory structure as far as like, eventually I might like, for example, I might refactor some things to make it a little bit cleaner. But for the most part, I'll try to collect all my experiments in here. And then you can go ahead and always check them out at your leisure and feel free to use them for your own inspiration. Okay, so a couple of things. One, let's go ahead and get the main, wait, hold up. Right. Oh, so that's just it. So I originally had 2 different repos. I had one that was just like JavaScript, one that was TypeScript. But it was kind of, there are times I wanted to experiment with 1 or 2, and then it was kind of a pain to manage both. So currently I'm in the model where I have a JS folder and a TS folder for each one. But who knows, maybe I'll change my mind again and we'll split it up. But for now, I have my TypeScript experiments and JavaScript experiments in Vue 3 all in one repo. So, all right, so we have our 8080. So let's go ahead and open that up. Oh, right, that's not my macro anymore. It is now literally 80. There we go. Okay, so let's bump that over to the 3rd. Let's go ahead and VS Code. Let's open the Vue 3 lab. And so I know some of you have been mentioning that, like sort of asking me why I'm not using VS Code terminal more. So generally speaking, I usually like for large instances of things, I'll leave it on the iTerm just because that's been sort of built into the muscle memory at this point. But generally speaking, I am trying to be better about using the integrated terminal in VS Code. Very excited to be able to, for the longest time, I know I wasn't able to get the icons appearing correctly. And so syntax highlighting and stuff is really important to me as far as the whole developer experience. And so, but anyways, as you can see, I have my little, my branch. It tells me what branch I'm on and then if there are any changes. And so these are basically code to tell you that like something's changed on the branch, hasn't been committed, and that we have updates to push to basically the original repo. Anyhow, so let's take a look at this. Actually, it looks like I have changes. I really don't want to start with a okay, looks like I was experimenting with the to-do app at one point. So feach add to-do experiments. Okay, now that's been cleared up. All right, so let's take a look at the space game that we built last time. So let's go ahead and do a couple things. One, let's close this and let's blow this up a little bit. All right, so, oh, you know what? I vaguely remember now. On this stream, you all have part of my face covering up the lower right. Hey, Cecilia. Thanks for joining. Yeah, iTerm for me is just like a 2-key command, so it's just so easy to switch. But I am trying to get better about the command T in VS Code. So yeah, that's something I'm working on. But okay, so at least now it's bigger so people can see it. I realized in the last stream that y'all couldn't see it. But we had this general scaffold, right, where if you hit start game, it would hide the panel, right, so you can imagine, and then theoretically like these consoles would appear. And so in the last stream, we had gone through like some basic like mini games. So for example, this would be like you'd have to enter the correct password, and the password would be on a post-it note as like a little nod towards Among Us. And then we can be like 5963888, right? And if we try to submit that, wrong password, but it's like 387. Not only is it correct, but we see that we've gone ahead and tracked that the mini game, how many mini games have won. And so then we also have here where we have the sequence where we want to get people to push the right one. So if it's like red, blue, green, that's wrong. But I think I did blue, green, red. And that's true. And now the minigame 2 has won. So we certainly clean up some of these mini games. But as far as the core functionality, we want to go ahead and build that third game. And then once we build that third game, I think we're going to have most of the big pieces to then start really making this application work. So, all right. So let's see. Yes. To this point, muscle memory goes a long way from like just keeping the flow of how we think. So gosh, I can't tell you. A lot of times I have to really evaluate if I'm learning a new shortcut or remodeling something to make sure that the gains in how I think and flow through ideas isn't interrupted terribly, because otherwise it's not really worth the gain of. It's kind of like typing, right? Some people, I think they swear by, it's not Dvorak. There's another keyboard layout that like people swear by. And I just haven't found the justification to like remap and relearn everything for maybe a 10 to 20% gain in typing speed. But it's like, I'm also not typing constantly. Like you got to think too. So it's like, you're kind of always weighing the trade-offs of productivity optimizations. And that's coming as a productivity nerd. So, okay, for the third mini game, gosh, I need to think about this. So we have a basic color sequence game. We have a really simple enter password game. And so one game I do really like, so for those who played Among Us, this might feel a little bit inspired. So I do like the game where you have to match the different colored wires. So there would be like, you just have to drag them across. And so I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think that I might go ahead and do that. It might be actually a little bit complicated to do, but that's okay. That would make this kind of fun. So let's go ahead and bump this over, and let's go ahead and set our project up. So, okay, so again, I haven't gone to the effort of really refactoring out the mini game stuff just because we want to just get that MVP out. So we're going to add a mini game 3 here in this case. And then I'm just going to copy over a mini game 2 for now, just to get something up and running. And then we're going to go ahead and our space game, since I know you all basically are blocked on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and delete some of this status stuff. Well, let's at the bare minimum hide it. And so there you go. That's a little bit better. And then that, you know what, I'm going to also go ahead and hide the navigation for now because I'm only going to be working on this one view. Okay, so now it should be easier for everyone to see. So inside of space game, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and what am I going to do? I am going to hide these for now and just say v if false, just like hard code the false in. I would normally comment them out, but I'm pretty sure the VueCLI will yell at me. So being like, hey, you registered these components and you never use them. So there we go. All right, now we have a clean slate. So let's go ahead and fire up our mini game 2 or 3 for that matter. Oh yeah, and then if mini game, actually I'll attach the event later, just as a way to review for anyone who wasn't watching before. Okay, so we have that. Let's go ahead and copy this line And we switch that over. Minigame 3. Register minigame 3. I think as the tooling continues to enhance itself, we're going to see some pretty interesting optimizations from like even auto importing. I've seen some work that Rahul's doing, who some of you might know as ZNCK on the core team, and like where basically once you call the component, it just does the import for you. And I look forward to little improvements like that because, gosh, I don't want to keep manually importing my components. Okay, so we have our minigame 2, or minigame 3 for that matter. So just to be very clear that we're on minigame 3, actually I realized a couple of things. One of the things you might have noticed that's a little weird for people who use VS Code is my file menu is on the right-hand side. And it's also like, I don't know, everything's sort of oversized. Like my terminal is a little bit big, my file. And the reason for that is because I'm trying to get better at noticing when my real estate on my screen is taken and not just ignore it. And so it's just trying to motivate myself to just clean it up a little bit. So we can see now here that just much less noise. And then I can afford to bump up my code a little bit larger so that people can see what's going on, because I realize it might be a little bit small on the stream, depending on what you're streaming at. Okay, so inside of this, we have a couple things. So track validation, I think I'm just gonna wipe all this out. We don't need any of this. We just need to know it's minigame 3. And then I'm gonna wipe out all the stuff in here because we're gonna start with a brand new, there you go. You see that? You see how that terminal block is so obnoxious? That's just like, anyways. So, all right, here we go. Now I hit it. Now we're good. And then, oh yeah, we imported all this stuff that we don't. Sorry, we have defined component. So that's good. Okay, so we know that in the basic wiring game we had there are basically 2 components if you haven't played it before. So I guess I might as well just bring it up. Among Us wire game. Fixed wiring. So this is the mini game that people, let's see, I'm not playing ads here. Stop. Can I get an image of it? Here we go. This is the gallery. So the basic idea here is, what happened? I thought they had an image of it. Open image in new tab. Oh, that's so small. The idea here is you have a bunch of set colors on the right hand side. Users then have to click on the appropriate wire and drag it over to the corresponding one. So we may, we'll see how far we can get on the interaction piece, but at least we know the core pieces, right? So what I'm gonna do then is let's set up our mini game. So I'm gonna call this the wire board, and I'm just gonna make that the div. And there will be basically 2 sides to the wire board. There's gonna be the stuff you can click on the left, and there's just gonna be call it the correct order on the right. So for now, I'm just gonna call it left panel, and I'm gonna call the other side right panel. And to ensure that we have the things, I'm gonna go ahead and just be literal here. I'll just do a list, and then this is blue, this will be yellow, red, and they use pink, which I was a little surprised, maybe because it's a color blindness thing, but for now I feel like it makes more sense to have different colors. So I'm just gonna do green for now, and then we're just gonna copy this over, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a second. So okay, we're just basically we're prototyping right now, just to like get a sense, like lowest level what's going on. And so a couple things already wrong. We can see that it should be side by side. And so let's see a couple of things. Let's go into minigame. So minigame has a pretty set width, but for the sake of this game, I'm going to widen it a bit. And then we can just delete all these stylings. So we're going to write our own. And so we know that we have this wire board. And the wire board at this point, we're going to do, I think, Flexbox will work just fine for this, because we're only we're displaying items across one axis. So that's good. And then we want space in between. So justify content space between. I love how I said space between and still type center. Talk about muscle memory. There we go. Boom, boom. The only thing we need to do now is I realize is rather than call them left and right panel, we probably should just say dot panel, because then I can target some of this stuff. So the UL, for example, is going to be for both sides list style none. And then I'm just going to remove the margin and the padding like that. And then I think I theoretically need to do the same for the list items too. So then now we can go ahead in here. So panel is the shared class because both of them should look fairly similar in this organization. But then anytime we need anything that distinguishes them from one to the other, we use a state. So this is like the is left. So this is the left one. And this is the is right one. So that's how I like to distinguish between my CSS classes, just to make it a lot more explicit. So for some reason, everything's collapsed. Everything's gone. Why is it? Oh, that's weird. Panel is left, is right. Do I have a utility class somewhere else that's doing this? Hang on a sec. This may be, yep. So yeah, this is where styling comes in and bites us. So this is why we do want to use things like scoped and modules, for example, to prevent basically similar naming. But in this case, rather than go back, I'm actually just going to fix it at this level. So this is where I get to now introduce so in this case, I'm going to use CSS modules, which allows us to create custom styling. So what will happen is instead of just basically panel, it'll be style.panel. Oh, yep. And then my panel is super big. So I'm going to, that's gone. So then this will be style.panel. And so it takes like this syntax. Don't get me wrong. Like someone who writes native CSS a lot, it took some getting used to the fact that I had to append like basically a JavaScript object to it. But the reward on it is so cool because basically, as we'll see here, I'll show you. Okay, good. You can still see it. When we look at the actual class name, it's not just going to be minigame anymore. You'll notice that Vue will actually help you prepend it with like the component name, and then on top of that, give it like a unique code at the end. And so this way you have basically like the odds of this ever clashing with anything else are so low. And so, yeah, so Cecilia, style components in React, I want to say that's more like scope styles actually, but let's verify. So style components in React, I believe this is it. So what does this render to? Documentation, show me. Motivation, yep, easy deletion, that's fine. What do you render out to? Okay, so here it has the styled h1. So if we go here, we will see that the h1 has, looks like a unique class. Yes, it looks like they've compiled it. So yes, Cecilia, it looks like it is similar to style components in React. Obviously for me, I think the big difference is it looks like they've improved it so it's more CSS-like and that you don't have to do the object notation anymore. So that's nice. And so, yes, so it looks like it is achieving a similar effect. Although one thing I don't like about that aspect, which is one thing when it comes to like basically having like garbled IDs, is that it makes debugging it makes it just difficult. Maybe I just didn't give it a fair chance. Maybe if it's a CSS class, here's a dot section. So let me just double check real quick. Because for me, like I'm all about optimizations, but if it makes it hard for me to figure out how to debug something, I am not usually a happy camper, because that means it's just gonna make it very difficult. Yeah, I'm looking padding papaya whip. Yeah, so it looks like the dot section was actually compiled into a unique ID too. I was hoping that maybe, oh no, style dot section is that's the HTML element. Yeah, I wonder, I was trying to see an example. Yeah, testing with variable selectors. Yes, thank you, Cecilia. That I don't like the unpredictability of that aspect. At the bare minimum, you know that like with this sort of module component, you know that like you could find the class name in here at the bare minimum. And the fact that I think this is new, to be honest. I don't remember in Vue 2 doing this. The fact that it's prepending the component name is actually pretty interesting because that means that you actually have some predictability actually with the name. Whereas I think in the past it was just the class and then the unique ID. So theoretically, if you had a generic CSS class like button, then you could never figure it out. But now that we have the component name appended, as part of the styled modules. I think that's really cool. So whoever made that decision on the team, kudos to you. I like that a lot. Okay, so thanks for that question, Cecilia. Now I'm glad. I remember using style components back in my React Native days. But yeah, I remember. I think back then I had to use the curly, either that or I don't know. Hopefully they've also got syntax highlighting fixed too, because gosh, like when I use things like string interpolation, this is the same thing actually with if you use Vue CDN. So don't get me wrong, it's not a React thing, but just like the moment you're in those backticks and there's no syntax highlighting, like it just kills me. So yeah, absolutely, Cecilia. Thank you for asking. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so we have our wiring now. We're good. And so some of you might have noticed too here, the style, we have to refer to the mini game with the array syntax because we have the dash. So that is not a valid variable name in JavaScript. So I know that some hardcore people would probably be like leaning more towards just doing this and ignoring CSS convention. This will not, so unlike some other Vue things, this will not automatically switch to kebab. It cannot make that assumption for you. For me, I just try to stick with CSS conventions as much as humanly possible, but I don't know, maybe I'll change my opinion on that in the future. So that's the reason why you see this. This one is a little bit different. Okay, so cool. We have our two sides now. And so probably the easiest thing for us to do right now is to go ahead and let's see. So the right-hand side is the correct order, and we need to be able to then click on something and then it registering what that is, right? And so in that regard, we'll need to say, this will be like, I'm gonna say like wire. So it's a wire, but then how am I gonna select, okay, the style, okay, that I'm thinking of styling right now, functionality wise. I really just wanna, if I, not even, click is okay. We'll start something really simple. We'll say click, and so when we click, we want to register wire color. I'm going to be very explicit with that name, and then in that case, yeah, I'm already seeing some things. Okay, so one, I don't want to write this multiple times, so let's pull this out data wise. So inside of our setup method, we're gonna have our const. So again, I've talked about this a few times, but again, I think this will be worth reiterating for the community long term. Between ref and reactive, especially if you come from Vue 2, and honestly, even if you don't, I think reactive is going to be easier for people overall. I just recommend using reactive over ref, and so I'll sort of talk it through. But I usually like to declare my state as a reactive object. So again, this is therefore then similar to our data object we normally track in Vue. And then from here, I'm gonna just say like user wires. I'm just gonna call it very simply that. And so it'll be red, blue, green, green and yellow. And then might as well, while we're at it, say correct wires. And then I'm just gonna, again, just choose something random, red, blue, yellow, red. Okay, so whoops. Okay, so now we have these two properties. It's yelling at me. I always forget to do this. You have to return, right? You're in setup, you have to expose what you're returning. So I'm returning state. And then so now, if I want to loop through this item, which I do, it would be basically v4, what is it? So I'll say user or wire color in, I call it user wires. Yeah, I'll have to rethink that naming in a little bit. User wires, and then the key, again, for now, I'm going to create a custom string just because I know I'm going to have name clashing. So it'll be user dash and then the color for now. We're going to probably want to come up with better IDs in the future. And then if we put wire color here, and then let's wipe this out. Nothing showing up. Why is that? Oh, that's why. Because, right, you would expect as data property when we expose something, we kind of like in data, we just would basically say this, or we would refer to user wires directly. And so if you're like, oh gosh, does this mean like now I have to do like this state thing? And like technically yes, right? Because we're in this very manual JavaScript realm of like manually defining what you're returning. So you're like, gosh, I really don't want to define everything as state. No problem. The only thing you need to do, which is just a little bit more manual hookup, is this toRefs functionality. And so it basically says that, hey, like when you spread out this object, don't break the reactivity, because that's what will happen if you spread out state without doing anything else. And so you're basically saying, hey, when you spread it out, be sure to convert everything to a reactive property that I care about. And so this is our way of basically saying, yeah, basically spread it out, but still keep all the reactivity exactly as expected. And that way you don't have to worry about actually, I think it just broke. Okay, there we go. Yep, that way you don't have to worry about those things breaking, or just, sorry, it's easier to type those things. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and quickly wire this one up. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this block because it's for the most part the same. I think I called it correct wires. Yeah, I did. And then that's fine. And I'll just save. Okay. So again, some of you are probably already thinking about components, but again, I'm a big fan of data-driven refactoring, and more importantly, we got to get something working first before we start wiring. I like to just, especially we're in prototype mode. So next step we got to do is on click, we need to register what wire the user selected, right? So we can see here, probably we're going to say user, again, selection, and that'll be just a string. I'm not going to, oh wait, I don't need to, see, this is another benefit of ref, is that I don't have to go and update the return value because I'm just updating the object. Whereas if you had like const user wires equals ref, like, and then my array, and then like const, like I'd have to go and update this return block every single time. And then soon enough, like your setup block is just 20 lines of return ref variables, and just, I don't want to do that. I don't know about y'all. I think this is simple enough to understand. And anyways, so let's keep going. There are other benefits too. Let's keep going. What am I doing? Oh yeah, user selection. Great, that's being tracked. And so right, we can say that when user clicks on said thing, we're gonna register. Yes, register color. I guess I want to call it register color for now. Register wire color. I'm going to be a little bit more explicit. That says Y. Wire color, and we're going to pass in the actual wire color. And so then we need to, this method doesn't exist yet. So we're going to define it, const register wire color. Thank goodness for autocomplete. We are going to get a parameter, which is going to be the color name. We could just do color, but then my problem with that is, since especially because we're not using TypeScript, does that mean you can pass a hex color? Does that mean you can pass whatever? Right now we're doing strings, so let's just keep a color name, very explicit to developers going forward, what they kind of expect. And then, as you might expect, if it was hex color, I would probably say hex color. I want to be as explicit as humanly possible, given we don't have TypeScript to register those kind of things. Okay. Anyways, so now you might be thinking like, okay, now we need to update the user selection. And remember, inside of setup, this context is not what we're used to in Vue 2. This would literally refer to the this context of the JavaScript like function or whatever the scoping is given the time you're calling it. So because this is JavaScript though, we know it's called state. So we're saying state.user selection equals color name. So we can see, again, dang it, I have to register it. Okay, that is constantly going to bite me in the bum. Okay, user selection. So let me just go ahead and let's register it. Like, again, I always like to see everything working. So here we go. We have something very visible. Let me just put actually something in here so we can see. So it should be black right now. Great. Click, red, blue, yellow, green. Wonderful. That's great, but we need to do more than that, because what we need to do is really, we need to click. Technically we can drag, yep. And then when we drag, we'll then hover over. So here's the thing. Okay, so this is the tricky part, right? Yeah, Cecilia, we're gonna be in the Vue. This is my Vue 3 Labs repo, so you can go ahead and check out the code there, and I'll try to keep everything organized. But yeah, that's where I'll be working from. But yeah, thanks for joining. Okay, so we have, if we think of it like for those who have watched some of my other talks, like I'm big on animation and I really like creating narratives anyways through storytelling. But when it comes to animation, and I think it's like this too, it's easy to get hung up in like the in-between state of like what happens when you click drag a wire over to the right hand side. But for me, the basic principles at this point is we've started the first thing, which is when you click, or theoretically we might do even mouse down, to be honest, because if we're going to try to do that drag effect, we want to listen to different events. then the endpoint is going to be when we sort of hover, let go, and we want to basically register that second color because we need to then perform the check. And so I think in between, like the animation and stuff, we can figure out in a little bit. But what we want to do then, whoop, sorry, that was really loud. I need to turn down my Streamlabs. Okay, so in that case, what we need to do is basically say, call it like, it's not even, gosh, I even realized user selection is technically kind of off. I'm actually going to make this, I'm going to try the tuple concept, although again, it's not a true tuple. But basically, for those who don't know what tuples are, they're arrays that are fixed length and you're supposed to have fixed values in them because it's supposed to mean something. Because really, kind of what we want to say is basically, though, like, we want to say like selected wire versus like matched wire. So maybe I'll just keep it. Yeah, I like having the array though. But then, you know what though? I think we're gonna say this is more explicit. So again, if we used to say a black, because you can imagine what we really want to do is basically compare these two values, right? So that's why I wanted to kind of group them together. But since we don't truly have the idea of a tuple and there's no, then I'd have to document it. Yeah, for the sake of making it easier for people to understand, the user selection has two different one, which is the selected wire and the matched wire, which is fine. And so now that rather than user selection, this should be user.selection.selected wire. Gosh, I need to change these names later. Okay, so now again, when we click, this should update. This is good. And what we want to do is when, not hover, actually I realized, because just because you hover doesn't mean we're going to register that check. It's more about like when we mouse up on the thing. So hold on, actually there's two things, right? Because this is a funny thing. I haven't really built drag and drop on like from scratch before, so this is also a little bit of a mental exercise. But we are clicking and dragging at this point, so the mouse is already down, but the hover effect would at least let us register the color they're hovered over, and then when they let go of the mouse, that's when we would run the check. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's continue that experiment. So for now, we'll say that down here, right? And we just want on hover, we're gonna say register match color. Again, I will, yes, I'm not gonna let naming, but this is fairly explicit. Register wire, yeah, that's fine. It's a little bit off, but I'm not gonna worry too much about it. All right, const register match color. And this time, this is gonna be, again, the color name, and then state dot user selection dot matched wire equals color name. Okay, so if every time it gets me every time, I kind of like, small part of me thinks that like anything in here should just be like returned by default unless you like explicitly say no. No, I don't want it. But okay, so anyways, we can check this real quick over here. Now that when we hover, oh, right, I forgot. It's not even called hover. I always make this mistake. It's mouse enter. That's what it is. So when mouse enters, it'll update. So that's what it is. So the hover, yeah, that's a lot of CSS writing. So here we go. So we can like click, which is great. But then, you notice I have to lift up before it registers, which is not great. So really what we probably want, I'm just going to switch it out now, is mouse down. So once you mouse down on this element, then it'll be this. And then we come over here, and then now it's matched to red, now it's yellow. But again, we want to run that check later. So my thing is that though, the user selection doesn't really occur until the mouse down, but if they mouse up, gosh. Yeah, this is why drag and drop is a little tricky. So here, if we drag, yeah, mouse down. If I let go a mouse up here, it should just deregister it because there's a couple things that we need to track. Drag and drop is fun. I made this probably way harder than I needed to, but that's okay. Think it through. Okay, so you mouse down, you're selected. All right, let's just like one step at a time, right? So at this point we have, you know what, I should commit this work so far, just in case I run into something that I'm just gonna want to blow away. So the feature is add a basic mini game 3 with scaffold. Okay. Okay, let's not worry about the edge conditions, right? That's what I feel like as developers we tend to get caught up in, like, well, what if this and this and this? Let's get from one to the other. So here we click, and that's good. And then as we hover over, and then here, what I want to do is when it mouse ups, basically when we let go, we want to run that check. So I want to say on mouse up, is it mouse up? It looks, yeah, if it's mouse down, it's probably mouse up. Then it'll say check wire colors. Whoops, I don't need that. It's just that. So then const check wire colors, and then we're gonna go ahead and we need to check match status. Match status, and theoretically these should eventually line up. I'm sketching out the data property here, because yeah, so if it's this one to this one, it'll be true. Okay, yeah, I can make this work, I believe. We'll see. Check wire colors. So it's gonna need an argument, isn't it? Oh, no, I don't think it does. Because, okay, so to check the wire color, right, the simplest thing for us to do is to say if, right, user selection. Actually, I'm gonna destructure this because from user selection, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna use it multiple times. So user selection. So again, what we really want is selected. Oh, I'm pretty sure I can't destructure it because then it's not going to be reactive. Okay, actually, I've always been really curious about this. Anyways, match wire. So here, let's just look at this real quick. So I'm just going to say log selected wire matched wire. So if this works as anticipated, check wire colors. Whoops. User selection is not defined. That makes sense because this would be state. My bad. Okay. So inside of our console log, we can see now that if I click down, lift up black yellow, lift up like black blue. So this is good, actually, surprisingly. But let me try something real quick here. What if I said state.user, or no. If I said selected wire is equal to papaya is a constant, no assign. Yep, okay. So what if I said 2 refs? Will this work? No, it will not. Yeah, because I think it's gonna try to break it down. I'm trying to figure out. I imagine I'm not gonna be the only one who's gonna want to do something like this. Selected wire is a constant. Yeah, still doesn't like it, because what we're trying to do, right, is we're trying to say we want these pieces. We just want to refer to it, but we can't do that unless, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to. All right, let's look at the Vue 3 docs real quick. Let's see what we got, because this part clearly I need to double check on. So we have props 2 refs. Okay, so reactive, that's fine. Foo value, fine. 2 refs is useful for returning the reactive object. Yep, I agree. Okay, so it can destructure or spread. Okay, hang on. If that's the case, did I just inadvertently figure it out? Two refs like this, like that. Is this what it actually is? Gosh, I need to remember these 80 like this. Selected wire is a constant, and what if I said let? I need to go to space game. Okay, so again, here, let go. Papaya is ref is true. Ooh. Okay, I think my instinct was right. But the difference is this. Yep, that was right. Okay. So probably worth noting. Oh, here was my game. I was wondering where it went. Okay, so what's worth noting here is that when we want to destructure something anytime, right? Because I was using it inside of like the return value under a spread. But anytime you want to break up any sort of reactive property, basically the two refs is actually really important for this. But the downside then, of course, is because now that you've done this, they are now refs. And this is where the dot value has to come back in. So it is, it's a little bit of an interesting trade-off between having to type state dot user selection dot selected wire, and that itself is then equal to, like, I don't know, call it cyan. This is kind of unfortunately where we're ending up, where users going to have to make that decision whether this is better for them or whether or not they prefer to be able to destructure. So if you do destructure, it just means that you need to understand refs. So just for practice sake, we are just going to go ahead and use the actual refs for the moment. And so what we're going to say is basically if selected wire dot value is equal to matched wire dot value, we're just going to say so a couple of things. We need to actually update the true false of this particular section. So the problem with selected wire is it needs to actually find it. So cons selected index is going to be state dot or selected wire dot value dot find index of the selected wire dot value. Sorry, I am wrong. I didn't mean selected wires. So that's redundant. You would be looking in yourself. I meant state.user wires. Once we have that index, because we're going to map these two together, so the match status, because the user wire is what we actually need to, I guess it doesn't really matter. Should we track which one's correct? Yeah, that's fine. The first one is totally fine. You technically do it the other way around too. But then we would say if those are equal, then state.match status is going to be equal to true. And then, sorry, match status selected index. And so to show that that works, we're going to open up our match status. And then that is going to go ahead and render out here on the page. Match. Didn't I call it match? Oh, once again, beauty of using reactive. Don't need to register it, although there we go. False, false, false. So here you go. Red. Come over to red. Let go. It didn't work. Let go. Why did it not work? Red is not a function. Set state.match status.selected index. Why? That didn't. Oh. I am silly. So for find index is you actually have the wire color, and then we're looking for if wire color is equal to selected wire dot value. Yeah, okay, there you go. That's better. So if we clear this up, what we should see now is red, and then go over to red, let go, true, blue, hover over to blue, let go, true, green over to blue, for example, let go, still false, green over to blue, green, let go, true, yellow over to yellow, let go, true. And then if everything is true, then we emit that win condition, right? So we're actually, this was a little, well, again, we haven't perfected the drag click, but this is actually really good. So similarly to minigame 2, right, we should have this win condition. So we can see emit. There you go. Emit game 1. This is what we need. And so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Remember, that's what the event name is called. And so here we go. What we're going to do now is we need to watch this, the match status. Gosh, that took me a second. We need to watch the match status. I'm going to go ahead and use watch effect just because it's something I want to get more in the practice of. I think more people will be using this since it immediately does the whatever you plan on watching. So it's, in that regard, it's a little bit more intuitive, I think, for most people. And so I'm going to write it up here because, again, it's just easier to, I think, like teaching this way is to then say basically watch effect. You just call it directly, right? Think of it like a lifecycle hook. This is just part of the thing that you can do. And so it takes in just an anonymous function. And then inside you talk about what you want to track. So in this case, we want to track state.matchStatus, for example. And then basically every time match status changes, we want to just log it, for example. And so typically for those who are familiar with the watch property, you would have to like define which property you're watching. And then if you want to log the current new value, this one will always just kind of log what it is. So we can see now that inside of here, it's currently just a proxy, which makes sense. Although, yes. Okay, anyway. So blue, hover over to blue, let go. And then it updated, but did not change. Why did it not change? That, I could have sworn I've done this before. Okay. Let's check the docs real quick. Watch effect. Yep. Console.log. Yep. Dot value. Reapply side effect. Stop watch effect. Yep. Okay. Side effect invalidation. That's fine. Maybe I need to just refresh actually. Flush everything out. Here we go. Okay. That was a little funky. I've learned better about debugging now. Sometimes it's not me. I'm writing everything correctly. It's just that I am the proxy needs to update. So, all right. Well, that was a little weird. I guess it's saying that nothing has changed. So state machine dot status. All right. Of course, I'm getting stuck on this right now. That's okay. We're going to go back to watch, and I'll need to figure out what's going on there. But this is probably a bit more familiar for everyone who's used to watching this. So we would say state.matchStatus. And when we're watching state.matchStatus, we basically get the current value and the old value. So I'll say current value, old value. And then here, let's go ahead and watch current value, old value, right? So whoops, what did it not like? Did not like something. Watch effect not defined. I'm not, oh yeah, see, it hasn't noticed that change. This is so weird. Okay, red, over to red, let go. True, okay, so this is working as expected. I'm a little curious why the proxy wasn't working. But the only other thing though is you might notice is that it is unable to tell you the difference between the old one and the new one. And so luckily, last time Alex had an idea to help solve this, and that's the fact that we have to, if I'm not mistaken, spread out, what was it? I think it was like the return an array of the spread out values, I believe is what we did. So I'm gonna check, do this before we check Alex's match status like this. I think this state.matchStatus, sorry. There we go. It did not like that. Okay, hang on a sec. Let me check. Okay, what Alex said. He had a syntax that was super helpful. It made sense to me at the time, and of course when I'm trying to recall it to memory, it is taking a sec. Um, all right, so Alex did this thing. That is totally what I just did. It's saying to watch, yep, an anonymous function where you spread out the array. Why does it not like that? Status, red, let go. There we go. Oh, yeah, so the Vue CLI is definitely not detecting like watch changes. That's rather annoying. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is how you detect, actually have things to compare between. So again, I have the, just let me make it a little bit more explicit. This is current and this is old. And usually the old one comes first. I'm just gonna flip it entirely. So this way, right now, we can see that when we are, so we have green here, right? Green, and you hover over yellow, green, green, and then hover over green, let go. You see that at first it was all false, and then the third one, because again, it's the third one on the item, that one is true. So that's correct. And the reason this works is because we have a function that's returning a new array that compares basically the differences inside of the array. And so you have to remember that with JavaScript, we're looking at pointers as far as like memory allocation. And so theoretically, when the instinctive thing, which is what I typically do, just because like if you just want the actual value of the current one, you can really just do it like this. There's really no reason to do that sort of fancy syntax. So you're going to see here, when I delete all this, you can see that if I'm going to refresh this time, so I'm not letting that Vue CLI bite me again. If I update, you'll see that it actually shows like current, true, false, false, false. And so if you just simply want the value of what you're going to get, then you're good to go. But since sometimes people want to compare it, that's when you'll need to go back to this function where you have a returns an array that's been spread out. So it actually watches the items inside of it and then returns those rather than the array itself, which even though you're changing the items inside, the array technically has not changed since it's a pointer. Okay, so glad that I finally have this figured out because I think it was the last stream session I could not get that working as anticipated. I'm a little sad that what's I gonna say? I can't even remember. Oh, I couldn't get watch effect to work as I wanted to earlier, which I was really sad about, but it's okay. So right now, again, all I want to do is watch the current match status. And the reason I care for that is I'm saying if state.matchStatus, or current value, actually, I forgot. If current value, and then does it, I think it contains a string. Let's see, JavaScript contains. I think this is a string one, not an array one. Dang it. I want array includes. What's the, is it array that has contained? Array is includes as well. Okay, wonderful. Because what I want to do is I want to say if it includes a value of false anywhere. So if any of these have not been matched up correctly, then, well, don't do anything. So really what I want to say, if it does not include a false, meaning if all of it is true, then we're going to emit the win functionality. So this is what I copied over from game 2. And because this is the event that all our mini games are gonna emit all the time, which is like the mini game was won. And so we need this context piece, which is the second argument to the props, the setup that I had mentioned in another stream. And so just in case you're new to setup receives two different arguments, is the actual props that the component receives, and then you have the context, which is the second argument, which contains things like the attributes, the slots, and the emit event. Not emit method. And so that's how in setup you would do, like if you were in like options API, you would probably do this $emit. This is going to be context.emit, and then you can destructure it to be even simpler. But again, I like to leave context on for people to figure out where it's coming from. So if we go ahead and save that, and then jump over to app.view, we're gonna see, not app.view, spacegame.view. We're gonna see that we have to pass in this update user minigame to the basically to our component, so that when the minigame is won, we actually update it at a larger state right here. So now let me go ahead and let minigames 1 is still there. So that is still visible up here, which is great. Okay, so now if I refresh, if I go red to red, great, blue to blue, great, and then green to green, great, and then yellow to yellow, let go, minigame 1. Cool. So that means we actually have the basics of our wire game, like as far as the basic rules, that is mostly set up. I'm sure some of the, like, anyone who does more solid game design will probably know that, like, we have some things to fix, but again, we focus on iteration and one step at a time, because otherwise we get distracted. So this is our mini game, great, and then so we say add rule checking for mini game 3. Okay. Now this is a wire game, so we still have some time left. I'd like to actually make this look the part. So this is gonna be, I'm not gonna promise that what I'm gonna do is gonna be the best way for us to animate this, but if I'm trying to hack this together in, like, again, like a hack session like this is the way I would do it. And so the first thing first is let's go ahead and make sure that all our background colors on the list items are representative of what they are, so what you're clicking. So this is simple enough. We can go style and we'll bind it to the ES6 template literal, where we'll say background color is going to be the wire color, and this is one of the benefits of us using the name. There we go. Everything's showing up. Although, gosh, I think I'm just gonna really don't like that blue is so. I'm gonna change blue to cyan, I think, because otherwise I have to detect that the contrast on this is gonna bother me. Okay, yeah, let's just call it cyan. Cyan is easier, and then green. I think lime green is one. Am I right? I'm right. So lime green. All right, so now the contrast is a little bit better, so we can actually play around with this. Okay, so we have lime green, great. And then let's go ahead and double up on that style-wise down here. Okay, and so what we need is we need the wire from each piece to, like, drag and expand towards wherever the user is clicking. So let's break this down as simply as we can. So let me go ahead and this is a nice small change. Oh wait, I don't want to commit what I did in did I commit what I did in whatever. All right, so these two are gonna go in, and then we're gonna say feature add some color to wire panels. Okay. So when we click, we're gonna have, basically what we have is we're gonna want a div that is gonna change the length depending on where the mouse is. So I think the first thing we're gonna wanna do then is let's track the mouse position of our, let's learn to track mouse position. So usually I would just code everything in in the one component as a way of encapsulating it. But I think this is where we have a very clear separation of responsibility, where really we have the feature of tracking mouse position, and that really doesn't need to belong inside the component. And so we are going to actually create our first abstracted feature in this case. And so you're going to hear other people, a lot of people on the team use the word composables. If that works for you, go for it. I'll probably just create a whole video, honestly, on why I think features is still a better name. There might be arguments for another name that would be better. But long story short is that when we're creating features that are going to be used inside of other components, most of the time they're really just JavaScript. They're like utility functions, and they're not always like Vue specific. Because especially with Vue being so tree shakeable these days, there's nothing stopping us technically from using that, like, a feature in something that's not Vue related. So anyways, I'll come up with the whole thing on it. But anyways, so The use position is a common convention too. So I'll just use, I'm just going to be explicit, use mouse position.js. Here we go. So what we want to do is we want to actually find a way to watch the mouse position. So one of the things I'm going to do though, just so we can like sort of cut down on the time so we can actually focus on building the game itself, is there's this great utility library by Anthony Fu, who's on the team. And so it basically helps to abstract a lot of common things that you would want, such as like use mouse and those sort of things, to basically pull out the a lot of like sort of web APIs and making it simple to integrate inside of your Vue apps. So if we're looking inside of packages, you'll see shared. Oh no, it would be in core. I'm pretty sure it's in core. So then the key thing with these live streams, and especially with the build events, we really try to, as much as humanly possible, build it from scratch, so you all understand what's happening here. And so, I mean, we all learn together, right? So a couple of things. So basically, this is written in TypeScript, but we can see that what it does is it uses an event listener to focus on mouse move. And then based on that mouse event, it will go ahead and then update the page X. So what we can do, okay, again, because we can say export. So what are we exporting? We're exporting a constant called use mouse position, which will be a function. And then to make sure this works, we're going to go ahead and say my mouse. And then here inside of, okay, hold up, let me hide this. Okay, inside of minigame 3 now, we're going to go ahead and import this thing that we just created. So from features / use mouse position, and then we should get this thing called use mouse position. And so the way you bring something in is we would say const use mouse position equals use mouse position. So you basically call it and declare it. So actually I'll just call it mouse position so it's very clear it's different. Assign it a variable. And so when we save it inside of our Vue 3 app, mouse position is assigned and never use. To be honest, I actually might be even just go once. I might just go this slow, and I think it would work. Yep. So you can see now that we have input, like just like you would import helper methods from like Lodash and other things, we've now imported our use mouse position. And so now that we have this, what we can do is we can like log different things. So again, so if we look at window, for example, you'll see now that we actually can look inside of the window object. And so in this case, I believe it was, they had page X, no, I think it's page X offset. So let's see, get mouse position JavaScript. So let me make sure I understand everything. Oh yeah, client X, client Y. Okay. So that means client X, client Y. Where is client X, client Y? There's also page X, interesting, that returns the X horizontal of the mouse was clicked relative. No, I don't want click. I want move. Yeah, this is the one I want. Mouse event dot client X. Okay. Yeah, add event listener mouse move. Here we go. Okay, this is what we're looking for. All right. Yay. Okay. So document dot add event listener, although we have to actually say what the document is. So in this case, we're going to track inside of minigame 3. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an ID of minigame 3. And then inside of here, we can, okay, pass the DOM selector. And I'll explain what's here. So here we basically say like const document equals wait. I'm messing up. I don't think I need this. Because again, I could just say document.add event listener. And then when you hear mouse move, then we're gonna say, yeah, that's fine. Log key will literally do the same thing. So const log key, which is gonna take the event that's happening. Whoops, equals event. Okay. And then actually here, we want to track two things. We want to return the X and Y coordinate, right? So we can say mouse position equals X and then Y is 0 and whoop. And then we're basically saying that mouse position dot X should be equal to event dot client X, and then mouse position dot Y is equal to event dot client Y. And bear with me for a second. We need to make this reactive. So again, we import reactive from Vue. And then we make our mouse position itself reactive, because this is actually what we want to track. And then what we return here is the mouse position, but we're going to spread it out with two refs here. Position. Okay, so here, great, done. I messed something up. Mouse position dot X equals, yeah, why do we have random parentheses here? Const log key. There you go, much better. So register position. I don't like log key. This is what we're doing. Register position. Okay, so what we have here, looking at this, is we have a reactive object that has X and Y. We add the event listener. Oh, I don't need that. Why is that here? We need two refs. RST. There we go. This is what we want. So when we import this, you're going to add the listener mouse move, and when the mouse moves, run this function, which is register position. And so when register position runs, there is an event. This is normal JavaScript. We get an event object. And so we want to update the mouse position, our reactive object here, .x.y to client x, client y. And then because this is tracking everything, we'll return the reactive property we are trying to do. So to show you how this works then, next to it, here's use position. Again, I'll keep that to the side. And now I'm going to bump this down a little. Whoops. I'm going to bump this down a little bit so you can actually read a little bit more. Here now, we will see, here's mouse position. Okay, so now const mouse position is going to be this object that we're going to get. And so to show you that it's working, I'm just going to, log mouse position first. So it should, theoretically, when we are on our app, it should now log us, X and Y. So now we have X, Y, and X, the value is 0, which makes sense. Y is 0. So actually what we need to do now is I'm going to expose this inside of here, const mouse position, and we're going to go ahead and show mouse position here on the line. Great. And then it should be working, but it is return two refs mouse position. Oh, wait, I think I screwed this up. I don't think I should be destructuring it just yet. That's my problem. Give me a moment. Two refs is defined but never used. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. Okay, so at least we have that. But we're running into an issue. Why is that? I'm refreshing. So it looks like the document to add event listener register position is never fired. And I'm gonna say mouse moved here just to see. Why? Why did it not register immediately? Huh? Yep. Yeah, that's working as expected. But is it because when setup is function and setup is called, does mouse position itself need to be run as well? Register position. I mean, this is just never called because, like, why is screen log? Oh, screen log is updating. Oh. Okay, wait a second. Is it because add event listener? Hang on. Because there's no event listener on the thing when it's created. So, nope. Is it? I'm gonna try something else. Hang on. Bear with me. This is the joy of working with new things and trying to stretch your boundaries. Okay, so I have mouse position. I'm gonna do register position actually. I'm gonna expose that as well. Because what I think is happening here is that we basically, the register position is here, and it's funny, you think that it would attach it on run, but maybe that's, again, maybe I'm misunderstanding this piece actually. So now that we have register position, so we should get two things from this. We should get mouse position and register position. And now that we have this piece, I'm gonna expose register position on here, and then I'm gonna expose it directly on the mini game. So mouse move equals register position. That seems closer to the way Vue would do things. Here we go. Okay, great. I was right. All right, let's talk through what happened, because that was a little bit of a doozy. What we have here is our utility function for using mouse position, because that's what we want to do. We want to track it. And there's two pieces of this. There is the fact that, one, you're tracking the X and Y coordinates, but two, you want to register it. And so originally what I was trying to do was register immediately that add event listener. And so without diving into the details, I'm pretty sure there's something to do with how things are mounted. And so there's nothing to attach to probably inside of setup at the time. So this is why what we're doing is we're exposing then these two methods, mouse position and register. Like, we can go ahead and expose that to the component for it to use and then attach accordingly. And so that's why we can see here that we have our reactive property, which we have mouse position, and we're rendering on the screen right now. But more importantly, then from there, we need to actually register like the event. And since Vue makes it so easy for us to listen to events, we don't need to do that document, that add listener. We just say, hey, on this section, when you see mouse move, do the thing. Okay, so that is the high level. So that was a little bit of a journey. So let's go ahead and just log that right now. So here we say feature add mouse position tracking. Okay, why is this important? Well, there's a couple of things. One, we need to, okay, so every wire is gonna have like a length to it. And so if we're thinking about it this way, I think the easiest way to say this will be, there will be a div. I'm gonna call it, actually I don't need to do anything. For now, I'm just gonna inline style this real quick. Background color, let's make it different. Let's make it orange with 50 pixels, height auto. I think this should do the trick. Or not, maybe not height auto, height 50 pixels. Oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine. That's way too much, so let me just shrink it a little bit. 20 pixels, 20 pixels, okay. And what we wanted to do is, the reason why I need the mouse position is because we need to find out where basically the element starts. And then when we click and drag, we want to dynamically update the width. And so just to show you that this works, we're gonna go ahead. I think this is a bad idea, but I'm gonna do it because the fun thing about coding is that we can try things, and if it breaks really funnily, it's fine. So we have our mouse position, um, dot x, and then we can add the pixel here. And so if this works as I anticipate, it'll just, style. Why is it not working? Oh, is it because it's 0 at first and then it never? Nope. Background color. Where's my orange thing? With refresh. Oh no! Get out of here. Hold on. Background color, mouse position. Nope, that should work. Yep, that's good. Oh, I'm probably. Oh, I knew something was funny. I was like, "Where's my syntax hiding?" I did not v-bind. Okay, now that I v-bound correctly, now when I refresh this, a little bit better, but not really. Why is the div not receiving any of the other styles? It's getting width, it's getting height, and it's not even getting this. So something is funny. It was fine before. Again, let's just hard code it. We're good. And then this should just work. But it's not. And if it's not, it's probably me. Oh, okay. Yes. And so there we go. Okay, so is it this way? No, this way. Smaller. X is very, why is X only 49? Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. Here we go. So it is working now. Position absolute left 0. So hang on, I'm trying out a bunch of things right now with the CSS. Position relative. That didn't totally work. Where is my div? Left 0. What I'm trying to do is get it to just draw the line as long as humanly possible, but it's not showing up anywhere. Position absolute relative to the parent component, which is the li, which is fine. Again, oh wait, this should be pixels. There we go. There we go. All right, much better. I was like, what is going on? Okay, so now I can say left 0. And then, oh, got it. It's all syncing down 1. So if I'm really doing this, top 0. There we go. Okay. Woo, we have our wires. The only thing though is this is gonna be fun to hack. Okay. So again, so we can dynamically update the width, and the tricky thing is we want to basically draw a line between 2 points, and so that's, I mean, easy enough, but it almost makes me think I want to just drop a canvas in between the canvas element for HTML rather than sort of trying to fake the div and like transform it. Seems like that would be the most, yeah, I feel like that would be the best thing to do. It's been a little while since I worked with HTML canvas. Let's take a look real quick. So yep, you have canvas, you have fill rect, get canvas d, sure, and then it fills the rect. That's fine, rectangle. But I want, let's see, JavaScript MDN canvas draw line. Oh man, this might be actually fairly complicated. Stroked XY with height. Yeah, that'll, no, I need a line. Yep, nope. I need to choose the path and path, drawing a triangle. Okay, this is what I remember now. This is the draw path I remember, and then you can fill it. So, gosh. Click, draw. Wow, this is fairly complicated. But that's okay. We know that Vue can track a lot of these things for us, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves. You know what? Let's CodePen can actually might help us with this. Canvas, draw, line, mouse, view. Someone might have actually done a draw that's similar. If we can learn from it. Okay, yes. Drawing board. Oh, this is canvas, mouse down, mouse up. That's fine. Yep. Draw. So shout out to Florian for looking like it's getting us some sense. Okay, so if this dot mouse dot down, oh, he's then just running the straight JavaScript of like drawing it, of like where to, and then creating the stroke. So this is the draw event, and then it's getting the current. Okay. Let's hack this. I think I got the core concept on this. Okay, so what we need is not a div in basically like the random of nowhere. What we want actually then is, for now, to go ahead and let's wipe this out. Okay, so we know that we're getting position and color correctly, but we have in this middle actually is this canvas. And so inside of our HTML, in between panel, okay, between our panels, we're gonna have this canvas, and I'm just gonna give an ID of wire canvas. And then great. The way we're gonna be able to see this for now is let's do style, border 1px solid red. Okay, that's not too shabby. I'm a little surprised that it's taking up the full height, but maybe this is because, oh, wireboard is this way. Okay, so again, so we have wire canvas, ID wire canvas. I'm gonna say class panel. So I'm gonna say wire panel. Wire canvas panel. And the reason I say this is because wire canvas panel, and then we're gonna say do flex 1. So now I don't even need the space in between because this should just fill it up. Border 1px solid red. Okay. So this is not going to work though because I just realized we are using, we're already using CSS modules. So need to wrap this accordingly inside. Then we save. Okay, now we have our thing. Okay, so let's just do the drawing, right? So we know that on mouse down, we have to start that draw function, and then we have to then pick it up and do the thing. So similarly, again, I'm going to go ahead, and we know that this is a very separate feature. So I'm going to create another feature called I'm going to call it draw canvas. That's what I'm going to call it. Export const use draw canvas. And that is a function that will then return some methods that we will basically learn, pull from documentation. So in this case, here we see that they're actually getting the element, but I don't think that's going to be necessary because what we really need to do is just c.getContext2d. Okay, fine. clear rectangle, draw. Okay, so it is saying that it does want to fetch. Oh, I guess that makes sense because you're defining what you're going to be. Okay, fine. So to explain what I figured out is that for now, it looks like we do need to actually get the canvas ID, because that's right, because you need to know, at least I'm pretty sure, we need to be able to basically see what happens. So let me explain. So we have this const draw function. And so the draw function is we're gonna pass the selector into draw canvas, because we're saying like what, so I'll say DOM selector. So what are we selecting? And so that's why this whoops, I don't need these two lines, or this one and this one. Don't need either of those. Hide my file window. There we go. And then we're gonna pull it by the DOM selector. And then this way, then we can, if this works as I expect, we should be able to then just draw directly on it. So actually, if I do nothing else, this should work. So let's go ahead and see if I am correct. So we'll go back to minigame 3, and up at the top, we're gonna go ahead and now import from features / use draw, and then I'm gonna say use draw canvas. Again, yay for autocomplete. It makes such a big difference on the way we do things. And then from here, I know I have a draw, again, from equal use draw canvas. And here I will pull out this draw method. And so I think I'm just gonna run draw immediately, just as soon as we set it up. Actually, this might not work. I'm like 90% sure this is not gonna work. But I'll show you why in a sec. So we need to pass in the selector, I remember. So I can't remember what I called it. I called it ID wire canvas. Okay, wire canvas. I don't think it's gonna work because I'm pretty sure the thing is not mounted. Refresh, and it says cannot read get context. Yeah. Okay, yep, I knew it. Okay, so that's fine. So we're gonna go ahead and say when we're on canvas and we click on it, run draw, and I'm gonna pass in the ID wire canvas like this. Draw is a sign of another every time. All right, here we go. Pulling out draw as exposing it, and tag with attribute. Minigame 3. What did I do wrong? Canvas. Whoops, I screwed up. That goes here, and save and refresh, and we're good. Okay. So now if I click, it should draw. Oh, why not use SVG, John? That's a good question. I probably should just consider maybe I will do SVG. But for the sake of the laboratory and experimenting with things, I'm gonna make sure I get this drawing working, because I'm a little mad right now that it's not working. But I think you're right. I think if I'm gonna if I were to do this, or not even as I'm building this out, I think I will swap it out for SVG just because that is a little bit more reliable. So yeah, so we are playing around with canvas technology right now. This is what bothers me though, because I thought I passed a DOM selector in here. So hang on, let me log DOM selector here. So again, if this worked, oh, why is it undefined? Oh, is it because it's getting, nope. Hang on, refresh. Goes into the use draw, not the, oh, yes, you're totally right. So I think actually then, yes, thank you, John. You're right. So in case anyone can't see the the chat right now, John came in with the save, and what we need to do is, I forgot. So actually, let me explain, because it still takes some getting used to this when you're sort of writing your own feature, like sort of features with the composition API. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for joining, Masood. And then, yeah, I'll make sure to keep on updating this. But the DOM selector is being built at construction time. So this is where sometimes, this is why I don't because really we're creating a new drawing canvas, so that's why I think create is a little bit better. So it should be passed on creation time, whereas I was passing it in here on the method, which has no parameters. So of course it's not gonna have anything. So back up in here with use draw canvas, this is where we want to say wire canvas. So if this is correct, click. Okay, that's still not great, but let's keep debugging in the last few minutes as I really want this to work. DOM selector, is it? I mean, it should register. It should register. Do. Nope. Unhandled. But there's no event going on right now. What is going on? Get context null. So let me just make sure I did this right. Use draw from use draw canvas. Pass in the DOM selector. Oh, yep. And then when I call draw, it should be able to find it. But what I'm finding is it's just warning me about to get context null. Oh, wait. It's here. That's a little weird. Click. It's here. Click again. It's here. Okay, so we are logging it. Oh, wait a second. I didn't realize that it's a query select. No, I like query selector better. Is this better? Ha! Yes! Okay. Something's working. Okay, so that I should have, this is what happens when you copy paste, right? So the problem was just, again, if you're following along, is that it was basically, it was like get element by ID. And if it's get element by ID, I'm passing it the wrong thing. It should just be this. This is what I should do. I think CSS selectors are a little bit more intuitive to everyone as far as passing in the selector. So in that regard, that's why I usually prefer the query selector, because then people can be more flexible with, like, they want to do class ID element, whatever. So cool. We got it to the point where we have this thing, and then I apparently have a random A character somewhere because I probably just smashed a button and now I have to delete it. There it is. All right. There we go. Okay, so now we have something drawing on the canvas. So that was kind of a fun experiment from just drawing, like just tying in the canvas to Vue. And so we can imagine that now that we have the X coordinate, like you could theoretically do some fun stuff with this. But I think to John's point, SVG is probably the best route. So again, just for the sake of the experiment, we're committing what we've played around with. So add canvas that can draw a triangle. Like this is what we did. SVG on the other hand has an interesting thing. So if we do SVG, gosh, I think I want to do an SVG line. Yep, here we go. So here we go, line box. Oh yeah, this is actually what I wanted. I'm just gonna copy this real quick over here. So here we have our, where's my SVG? Let me delete my canvas now. Viewbox, stroke, black, white. Where is the thing? Oh, that's a little weird. Let me wrap this real quick. Let me make sure this is not like a flex thing. So using my emit commands, I'm swapping this out to a div. It's no longer the wire canvas. Swap that out. This is no longer a drawing. Okay, there we go. Now, okay. So now it's drawing. The one thing we want to control here is the X and Y too. So if I have this right, this is gonna be mouse position dot X and mouse position dot Y. Yes, very cool. Okay, so this is much closer to, this is basically what we want, because every time we click on one of these, we're gonna draw it, and then you're gonna drag it over to generate the length, or not even the length, it'll just follow correctly. Because right now it looks like the line, although it's interesting though, it's only updating like, hold on, did I do something wrong? X1, XY, I think I did something wrong. Hold on, XY, X2, right? That's the start finish. No, if it's at 080, theoretically, there's nothing. Oh, is it because the view box is really small? It might be because so yes, I could do a whole. I probably will eventually do more on SVG. Okay, this is better. Um, so the view box is what's because the number is so big. So theoretically, I could make the view box a calculation on the SVG width is what I would probably want. And so because I'm really curious to see if my instinct is right about this, we would need to calculate the width of this box. Um, uh, so theoretically, again, I'm just going to do this real quick. SVG. I'm just going to call SVG. I'm going to call it SVG canvas just because I can. That's what I'm thinking of it right now. So if SVG canvas onload. So again, we need the lifecycle hook. View 3 lifecycle hooks. Composition API. So before create, no created. I want it unmounted. So call right before the running. No, it's called for the first time. Yes. Okay. So on mounted, we're gonna go ahead and say document dot query selector. I gave it SVG canvas, and I want to pull the width from this thing, and I can never remember what this is called. So log L SVG canvas. And then does it not like it? Something. All right. Oh, right. I forgot. Unmounted then takes this, and then. I forgot. I have to import it because we're inside of setup, so everything needs to be imported. Log, great. Line width. Oh, what? Is it dot width? Will that work? SVG dot length. No. Okay. Anyhow, I'm gonna play around with this some more, but we've done actually quite a bit in this stream session. We've gone ahead and set up our minigame 3, and we're actually not too far from doing this wire bit. And so, depending on how things go, if it still takes me a little while, I probably will continue from where this is next Friday. But if not, if I get a little farther, I'll just make sure to create some video, like to record how things are going. But it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you all. Thanks for watching, and special shout out to Cecilia, John, Masood, and Abdul Sami for commenting. It's always great to get that feedback when you're live coding. And so yeah, if in the future y'all have any just want to chat or ask about things, please definitely makes the stream a lot more fun. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I guess I will see you all next time.